Afternoon, folks. How are y'all doing today? Welcome to Pond Hopping with Merlin. Pond hopping with Merlin is about average person, everyday person fishing. And that's what I'm about. Just the average person going out and fishing. I am no pro by any stretch of the imagination. I do most of my fishing. I either beat the banks or fish out of a kayak. I do have a boat. I've got a 16-foot John boat with a 60 horse Mercury on it. I very seldom ever use it. I'd rather fish out of my kayak. Most of the places I fish, I can't get the boat into anyway. We're just about average fishermen. My kayak has no electronics. My kayak does not have a trolling motor. I don't have fancy rod and reels. I don't have expensive rod and reels. We're just average fishermen. Well, I wanted to come out here today. Hurricane Ian passed, which when it passed us was a tropical storm, but it passed 2 days ago. I wanted to come out here and talk to y'all about bait casters. Using a bait caster, how to throw a bait caster. I know a lot of people that fish with spinning rods. I know a lot of people fish with spin cast. That's fine. You're out fishing. I think that's great. I don't care if you're using a cane pole. You're out fishing. I think that's great. But I wanted to see if we can get you into using a bait caster. I know a lot of people that have bait casters and they're sitting in the corner of their garage or in the corner of their shed and they're collecting dust. They went out there to use them, they had problems, they got frustrated, they put it away, they picked their spinning rods back up. So I want to try and change that for some of y'all. And what we're going to do here today is just go over a few basics just to get you started. Bait casters can be intimidating to some people because the biggest thing you hear about is thumb control, thumb control, thumb control. They want you to set up your spool tension a certain way. They want you to set your brakes, magnetic brakes a certain way. And then it's all about thumb control. Well, guys, when you come over from a spinning rod to a bait caster, you got to learn how to throw that bait caster and try and get some thumb control at the same time, and that's tough. And that's where people get frustrated. That's part of the problem. Another part of the problem is when people use a spinning rod, they bring that spinning rod back and they just flick it out there. They load that rod up and they just sling it out there, and it goes out pretty straight line. A little bit of an arc, but pretty much of a straight line. Well, we don't do that with bait casters. When you're getting started, do not do that. Now, let's go over the bait caster a little bit. This is a left-handed bait caster. Now, people are going to say, no, it ain't. It's right-hand. No. It's a left-handed bait caster that is right-handed retrieve. You cast with your dominant hand and you reel with your non-dominant. So when you were using spinning rods, you were casting with your right hand, reeling with your left hand. Most people. Spinning rods you can reel from either way, but most people cast it with their right hand. They reel with their left hand. Then they go get a bait caster and they want to get a left-handed bait caster. And they'll cast it with their right hand, they'll switch hands, and then they'll reel. Well, this is a left-handed bait caster. I've got a right-handed bait caster. You cast with your right hand, you reel with your left hand. I use both, and I have reasons for using both. You can see right here, this is our spool tension. This is our drag. These are the magnetic brakes. Now, what most people will tell you, or if you go out on the internet and you start looking around, about how to do this, they'll tell you to take your and tighten your spool tension up. Release your reel, release your spool, and back off your spool tension just till it starts to drop. Well, guys, I want you to tighten it a little bit tighter than that, because we're learning here. We're learning how to throw a bait caster. So let's tighten it so a little bit less than that. It just barely moves. You give it a little jiggle, it's moving. And then they tell you put your brakes on halfway. So that's where I've got this reel right now. So that just barely moves. You jiggle it a little bit. I might back it off just a tad more. So it just barely goes down. My brakes are halfway. The big problem I see coming from spinning reels is trying to load the rod up. Had a guy come down a few weeks back. He is a member of The Secret. It's a treasure hunt. It's an online YouTube community, or it's an online community that hunts a specific treasure that is in a specific location. And they've got a book that gives them verses and clues, and they've got images and paintings, and that gives them clues as to where to go look, and they got to go find these things. Well, they had a meetup down here a few weeks back, and he came down to that meetup, and he wanted to go bass fishing. He's heard about all these big Florida bass, and he wanted to go bass fishing. We were beating the banks. I wanted him to catch, you know, several bass, so I took him to a couple of ponds that have smaller bass, but usually a lot of them. I brought him to this pond. I've caught 20 in one day in this pond, one morning. I took him to another pond where I catch 10 or 15 when I go. Well, by golly, he caught the only fish. We caught one fish and he caught it. Thank goodness he caught it. But he's one of those, well, he's from New Jersey. And he's one of those, oh, what do you call them? Yankees? I'm gonna catch flack over that, I know. But I figure I can say that because there are two types of Yankees. You have a Yankee, that's a person that comes down here from the north and visits and goes back home. You have a damn Yankee, that's a person from the north that comes down here, likes it, stays, they move down here. Well, that's me. I'm a damn Yankee. So I figure I can say that Nick is a Yankee. And I know Nick will get a kick out of that. But Nick was down here. I had my son, my grandson, and I had Nick down here from New Jersey. And we were all out here fishing. They all had spinning rods, and I had a bait caster. Well, we fished out here about 45 minutes. We hadn't even had a bite. So unusual, but hadn't had a bite. And I walked up to Nick and I said, Nick, have you ever thrown a bait caster? He said, no. I said, would you like to try it? He was like, sure, why not? Well, it took me less than 10 minutes. And Nick was casting a bait caster. We left this pond. We went up the road a few miles. We hit another pond. We fished there about an hour. That's where Nick caught his fish. And Nick caught that bass on a bait caster. He used the bait caster the whole time we were in that second pond. And he caught his first Florida bass. He caught his first Florida bass on a toad, a Zoom horny toad, which he had never used before. And he caught that bass on a bait caster, which he had never used before. So it didn't take me too long to get him where he could use it. And it got me to thinking, you know, maybe y'all want to learn, want to try it. Might want to try it my way. Maybe you've tried it somebody else's way. Now you want to try it my way. So I come out here to do that. I know, I'm long-winded, I know. The first thing I had to do was Nick coming from a spinning rod. It's like I say, he wants to load it up. You know, you bring that rod back, you whip it out there. Well guys, I'm gonna ask you right now, don't do that. You're learning, don't do that. Bring that rod back and just lob it out there. You ain't gotta whip it out there. Just lob it right out there. No backlash. But when you throw a baseball, when you throw it to somebody, you throw it out there and it's got just a little arc to it. When you lob it to them, you got more arc. And that's why I want you to start off with a bait caster, by just lobbing it. You can throw it out there a good ways, just lobbing it, once we get settings set. But right now I've got it set where everybody tells you to set it. And you can reach back, throw it out there, I ain't even touched the spool. No backlash. None at all. Once again, don't whip it out there. You can bring it back, you can stop. You just lob it out there. You know, that's 50, 60 feet right there. Is that a long way? No. But it's 50 or 60 feet with no backlash, and I never touched the spool. Never touched the spool. What I want you to get used to doing like this is not loading it up. Just bring it back, lob it out there. No backlash. And now you're going, well, I want to throw it farther than 50, 60, 70 feet. Once you get down where you can do this, and another tip, guys, do it with the wind. Don't try and learn how to cast a bait caster, casting into the wind. Do it with the wind. So now that, you know, we're casting a little bit, you know, and those aren't bad casts. But now that we're casting a little bit, we're not getting backlashes. Start just letting your thumb drag across that spool. Just barely touching that spool. Just barely dragging it. Once you get some memory in your thumb, and once you get up here to keep your thumb down there and let it just drag on that spool, we're going to back off the spool tension a little bit. Now she's dropping a little better. We're going to back off on spool tension just a little bit. Well, now we're out there about 80 feet. And still didn't touch the spool. Did not touch the spool. Never touched it. No backlash. Never touched it. No backlash. A big thing is, guys, is loading that rod up and trying to sling that lure just as far as you can. Don't do that till you get better. We've done a couple of casts. We're going to back off the spool a little bit more. That drops pretty quick. Another cast. Didn't touch the spool. No backlash. We've done a couple of casts. We're going to back off the spool a little bit more. That drops pretty quick. Another cast. Didn't touch the spool. No backlash. So what we're going to do here is keep backing off the spool a little at a time. This is how quick it's dropping. Until start to get a little backlash. We still don't have a backlash. This is how quick it's dropping. Until we start to get a little backlash. We still don't have a backlash. Now, I've got looseness in my spool. My tensioner's not doing anything with my spool. So that's a little bit too loose. You don't want any side-to-side play in your spool. Still not touching the reel. Still don't have a backlash. We get to this point, we got this lure dropping that quick. That lure's dropping quick. We're going to back off the brakes a little bit. Brakes are halfway. We just turn them a couple of notches. I still ain't touched the spool. Casts are out there pretty good. They're almost halfway across this little pond. We're going to back off the brakes a little bit. Brakes are halfway. We just turn them a couple of notches. I still ain't touched the spool. Those casts are out there pretty good. They're almost halfway across this little pond. Now I'm throwing a weightless toad with 65-pound braid on here. All right, we're gonna back off the brakes a little bit more. That is halfway across the pond. And I still ain't touched the spool. Back off brakes a little bit more. That is halfway across the pond. And I still ain't touched the spool. Now can I throw it harder and farther? Yeah. I'll have to feather it. I will have to load the rod up some. And I will have to feather the spool to get it to go farther. But guys, that's halfway across this little pond. I don't need to throw it any further. Most of the places I fish, I couldn't throw it any further anyway because there's not room. But we're going to back off the brake a little bit more. That's out there pretty good. That's out there pretty good. But we're going to back off the brake a little bit more. That's out there pretty good. That's out there pretty good. I don't even know. You might be able to see on camera where it landed at. Might not. I still hadn't touched the spool. Guys, when I started fishing, there's two things, and I started using a bait caster. Like everybody else, I came from a spinning rod or a spin cast. And I tried, you know, doing it other people's ways. And I got flustered. I wasn't very good at it. I wasn't very good at all. So when I started back to bass fishing just over a year ago, because I had been out of bass fishing for over 40 years, I got my bait casters back out and I started doing research. And like I said, everybody tells you set your brakes halfway. Everybody says just set your spool tension to where your lure just barely drops or drops to the ground and doesn't make a backlash. And then they tell you thumb control, thumb control, thumb control. Well, let me tell you guys, it's not all about thumb control. You see, I'm sitting here casting and I'm not even touching a spool. If I want to go farther, yes, I can. What they didn't tell me, and what research didn't tell me, is one, not to try and load that rod up. Lob it out there. Don't try and whip it out there real hard. I mean, I'm casting 80, 90 feet, 100 feet out here, and I haven't touched a spool. You know, I backed it off a little bit too far. Yeah, I got a couple of backlashes. If I'd have feathered the spool, I wouldn't have got those. But while you're trying to learn that thumb control and to feather that spool, set it up like this so you don't have to do it. You won't be getting backlashes. Don't load up that rod. You load up the rod, that tip whips around there, overspins the spool, you get a backlash. So that's one of the things they never told me, or I never found any research on. The other thing I didn't find any research on, or took me a long time, is that if you're getting a backlash, what do you do about it? What do you do about the backlash when you get it? Well, most people just pick it out, you know, and they keep going, they get backlash, they keep picking it out, they keep going. They end up getting flustered, and rod goes away again. Well, if you're getting the backlash in the first half of your cast, tighten your brakes up a little bit. If you're still getting backlashes in the first part of your cast, tighten your brakes a little bit more. If you've got your brakes all the way tight and you're still getting them in there, one, your spool's either way too loose, or two, you're trying to whip it out there. Quit whipping it out there. So you quit whipping it out there, you get your brakes set right, that should stop backlashes in the first half. If you're getting backlashes in the second half of your cast, so you throw it out there, it gets up, it starts coming down, you're getting a backlash toward the end of your cast, that's your spool. You need to tighten your spool a little bit. Now, I've done this both ways. I've gotten backlashes at the beginning of my cast, I've tightened my spool up, and you can take care of it like that. But the way it's supposed to be done is if you get a backlash in the first part of your cast, the first half, one, you're either loading the rod up too hard, or you need to tighten up your brakes a little bit. You get the backlash in the second half, you tighten your spool a little bit. As you get better at this, and as you get better at feathering that spool with your thumb, you can start backing off, and you can cast it out there a long way. You can bomb them out there. But you got to learn how to feather that rod, or feather that spool, excuse me. You got to learn not to load it up. As you get better, you can start loading it up. But to start with, to keep from getting all flustered, to keep from getting all aggravated, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. If you're casting with the wind, it's a whole lot easier to learn. If you're casting into the wind, it's a whole lot tougher to learn. I mean, I've been using mine a year, and there's times where I won't be thinking nothing about it, and I'll be fishing and I'll cast into the wind, I'll get a backlash because I wouldn't even think about casting into the wind. So for learning purposes, cast with the wind as much as you can. Don't load up the rod, lob it out there, and just take your time. Don't expect to bomb them out there while you're learning. Just take your time and enjoy it. I mean, if you can cast it out there 60, 70 feet, and you've seen I did that with the settings, everything set halfway, and the lure just barely dropping. So, you know, if you can go out there and start off at 60 or 70 feet, work with that for a little while, start moving your adjustments a little bit, start backing off on your adjustments, you'll get out there 80, 90 feet. Shoot, most places I fish, I can't cast any farther than that. I mean, this little pond I can, but most of the places I can't. And especially if I'm on my kayak, I'm usually fishing toward the bank anyway. Yeah, there's still spots I can throw it out there, but not a lot. But you get used to the 60, 70 feet, you get it out there, start backing off your settings, you get it out there 80, 90 feet, you get used to that for a while, you back off your settings a little bit more. Once you start getting that memory in your thumb, that thumb control, sky's the limit after that, guys. The sky is the limit. So like I said, you know, just take your time, lob them out there. Shoot, I ain't even touched the darn spool. I did get a little bit of a backlash when it hit the water. Not enough to have to do anything with. I mean, I just pulled the rod back a little bit and backlash was right there, came out. To do that, you know, at the other end, I could tighten my spool just a tad. No backlash. And that's out there a good ways. You also notice as that thing started, as my lure started to hit the water, I started bringing my rod back up. You can do that, or you can, well, see, there we go, guys. I went to whip it pretty hard. You're there to go out there and stop it. Just stop it. Guys, y'all, I want to thank you for watching. I hope this helps you. If you try it and it works for you, let me know down in the comments. If it doesn't work for you, let me know. Leave me a comment, let me know. But I appreciate y'all watching. I hope this helps y'all out. If there's anything else you want to see, you know, if there's a particular lure or a particular technique you want to see, let me know. If I've got the lure, we'll go work with it. If I don't, if I can afford it, we'll go get the lure. We'll research it, figure it out, work with it, go out. Hopefully we can catch some fish with it. So if there's something else you want to see, let me know. Other than that, I appreciate you all watching. I thank you all very much. I thank all my subscribers, and I appreciate them. And y'all take care. Have a great day. Thank you.